And Catholics in BC are reflecting on the life and legacy of Pope Francis. He died yesterday on Easter Monday in Rome at the age of 88. Now, Pope Francis was the first pontiff from Latin America and the first from the Jesuit order. And he made history in 2022 when he apologized for the conduct of some members of the Church in Canada's residential school system. He also said the residential school system had carried out cultural genocide. Well, for more on this, we have reached Archbishop Michael Miller. He's the Archbishop for the Roman Catholic Diocese of Vancouver. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, Stephen.
Thank you for taking the time with us. How are you reflecting today on the life of Pope Francis?
Well, he left us a great legacy, and it's his departure was not totally unexpected, but when it came at the end. It came in a friendly way, and he had been active and blessing the faithful right to the day before. It was the kind of death worthy of a man who was humble, gave himself totally to the people, and he will surely be missed throughout the world, but perhaps especially even in Canada because of his historic visit to us in 2022.
It was rather remarkable that he was able to give an Easter blessing before he died, considering his ailing health.
Right. His last words were almost brothers and sisters, fratelli sorelle, which was kind of sums up the kind of man he was and the papacy that he embodied.
How do you think the Church has evolved under the leadership of Pope Francis?
Well, the Church is always evolving, picking up new tones from the gospel. And certainly Pope Francis put head and center solidarity with the poor, with migrants, with refugees, with prisoners, with the dispossessed. He'll long be remembered, I think, for those special traits, along with his concern for human ecology. His famous statement, Laudato Si, he put sort of just new accents. What happens, each pope takes a part of the gospel and brings it to the fore. And it was compassion and solidarity with the poor, I think, was the great gift of Pope Francis.
He also, over his 12-year tenure, which, is relatively short, I suppose, for a pope, he set a new tone for
Yes.
the Church. He apologized for the harms conducted by members of the Church in Canada's residential schools.
He certainly did.
He allowed priests to bless same-sex couples. He allowed transgender people to be baptized and called laws that criminalized homosexuality unjust. And the Pope also called for the end of the war in Gaza in his last address before he died. How do you reflect on that shift in tone that Pope Francis had compared to his predecessors?
Well, I think the word shift kind of marks every pope. Every pope brings a shift, a kind of emphasis, a highlight on certain parts of the gospel. The gospel being so rich that no one person can highlight everything at the same time. And so I'm very grateful that this just seems to be what the world needed. It needed this kind of push into compassion, into mercy, and into hope. The Pope declared this year a Jubilee year of hope because he knows that so many in the world are saddened and disappointed and frustrated. And hope, as he says, hope because Christ is risen, is the good news that the world needs to hear.
The papacy is, of course, in a very, very old
It sure
institution.
Is. 2,000 years.
It's a 2,000-year-old institution, and we're talking about a pope here, though, who seemed to, confront very modern issues. I think perhaps more so than any other pope I've seen.
Well, he confronted the issues of our day, but if you recall, John Paul II, how he confronted the communism and authoritarianism in Europe. Popes have they just have different slants, and I think that's to be expected. And Pope Francis had the slant for the moment.
Where does the Church go from here?
Well, as always, the Church keeps going. Succession is built into the fabric of the Church. There will be a conclave. The cardinals will elect a new successor of Peter, who will bring his own particular gifts and charisms. certainly carrying forward the legacy of Pope Francis, but no doubt also shedding his own particular light on the situation in the world and in the church.
And do you see the next pope, whoever that may be, building on the work that Pope Francis has done, or do you see a pullback to a more conservative Catholic Church?
No, I think the new pope will certainly build on the legacy of Francis. Popes nearly always build on the legacy of their predecessors, and then they give it their own particular perspective. The new pope might be, for example, even more concerned with economic justice. I don't know. I don't know who it will be.
And Archbishop, you yourself are just weeks away from your own retirement as
I
Archbishop of
am.
Vancouver.
Yes, I am.
Are you looking forward to the rest?
I guess I'm looking forward to, as they say, the next stage.
Yes.
I'm returning to kind of a university environment where I spent many years. So
All right.
that's also something good.
I just want to end with a quote from Francis that just came across my desk, and it's this: as long as the problems of the poor are not radically resolved by rejecting the absolute autonomy of the markets and financial speculation, and by attacking the structural causes of inequality, no solution will be found for the world's problems, or for that matter, to any problems. That resonates so much right now.
It certainly does, because the Pope has his finger right on the problem. What he's not able to do, and it wouldn't be his task, is seeing this problem. How do we go about resolving it? What are the practical policy measures that need to be put in place in order to achieve that good?
Archbishop Miller, thank you so much for the time, and the best to you in your retirement, and I'm sure we'll talk again.
Thank you very much, Stephen. We'll be having a mass for Pope Francis at the cathedral on Thursday at 5:10.
Very good. Thank you for letting us
Okay,
know. We
thanks,
appreciate it.
Stephen.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
It's Michael Miller, the outgoing Archbishop of Vancouver.